39.4 million Nigerians may lose jobs by year's end, and this is coming from the federal government. Finally, we are starting to get numbers on the effects of the lockdowns, all these draconian lockdowns we have been having in the nations. Now, I understand that to slow the spread of the virus so that we don't have our healthcare system overwhelmed, especially in the system where we don't have a chance of calling on all those Europeans as much as we could call on them in other times, since they too are battling with their own problems right now. That seems to be a very good way to do it, because we don't want this thing to spread uncontrollably to an extent where we don't have any way to deal with it. We don't want what happened in Italy to happen over here. So that seems very understandable, but at least we're finally starting to see the effect on the other side, because the only thing we have been seeing before is the number of people who have died from the virus and the number of people who now have the virus in the nation that we have been tested. Of course, it's not always going to be the same as the actual number of people who have had the virus totally, because the case fatality rate, which is of course when you divide the actual number of people who have died by the total number of people who have been detected, is actually higher than it's actually lower than what we have right now, because so many people have the virus. So many people, like it was tested in the United States and many other nations like that for an average, like about 80% of those people who have the virus don't even have any sort of symptoms. So if you compare that with what we have on ground, you understand that so many people actually have the virus. But of course, we are all focusing on the numbers of people who have died, which is very understandable. Every single death is a tragedy. Everybody understands that. So now, but on the other side, now we're starting to see the effect of the lockdowns, that it's not something very innocuous. It's something that is very, very real, that will affect people's lifestyles, people's livelihood, the way people can feed their family members, the way they can actually survive. We all understand that the first thing here in Nigeria is to survive. Unlike some developed countries where they can actually move beyond that, you have to survive here. We are all striving for survival. For the most part, like a huge bunch of the society is actually striving for survival. So now imagine in a particular industry or in a particular company now, that because of the lockdown, because there is no much business they can do right now, which means their profitability is very, very low, and there's no way for them to keep members and to keep their workers going, because there's no way to pay them if there's no money coming from outside. It's not something about wickedness from those companies, because even the federal government is doing it in some respects. So it's something that is very, very serious, because even the federal government doesn't have so much revenue coming in right now. We all understand how they are already adjusting the 2020 budget and all of that, because this thing is real. It's really affecting people. So that's it. For example, now in a company or in a hotel now, maybe you used to have about 70% occupancy, and suddenly you're now having below 10%, or in some areas you are completely shut down. What are you going to be using to pay the salaries of your workers? You can't do what the federal government can do in some aspects, where they can just keep paying. For example, like the corpers, they can't just keep paying like that. You see, the privates can't just keep paying like that. There is the tax base and a little bit of reservoir of revenue from the government to keep paying all those things, even when you are not working exactly at the moment. But the private sector can't do it. They don't have like a bag of money sitting down somewhere in their basement that they can just bring it and keep paying people off like that. So the only thing they can do is to downsize. That is, they have to like release some people, lay some people off, or to cut salaries, which is going to affect a lot of people. So we're talking about the jobs that will be lost now. By projection, they are saying about 39.4 million jobs could be lost. That's a lot. 39.4 million lives will lose their means of livelihood. That's what it means. And many of those people are the breadwinners of their families. That's what it also means, which means so many families will be left destitute or almost destitute at this point. You know what is going to happen whenever there is like a low there's a serious poverty level in an area? What happens in that neighborhood is that crime will spike. It's one of the reasons why we have a very high crime rate in the black neighborhood in the United States, because the blacks are very, very poor for the most part. They're usually at the bottom for the most part in the United States. So you're going to have a lot of crimes there, because people get desperate when they are hungry. You are talking about the most basic response in the human body. We are talking about the most basic effect that affects you. So that's what it is. People are going to do things they never thought they could do in their entire lives when they go hungry. So this is what we're talking about. It's very, very serious. Everyone should pay attention to it. So we are going to be having a spike in crime. Crime will increase. So many things are going to be happening to the children of those families. Imagine If you're talking about rape, you're talking about sexual immoralities and all things like that, what do you think is going to be happening to the family members or to the children of families that will go destitute during this period? Do you think like there will not be some sort of attempt for some like wicked guys to go after the daughters of those people when they know that they can just bribe them with some amounts of money and things like that? So these are the things that are going to be happening. Again, poverty breeds crime. I keep saying it, poverty breeds crime. You alleviate poverty, you are going to reduce the rate of crime. Of course, you still need law enforcement and all of that, but alleviate the level of poverty and crimes will go down dramatically. So that's what is happening. And of course, you also have to understand that it's not like maybe after the economy starts recovering, like things are just going to go back all to normal. Because that's what some people that actually support the continuation of the lockdown. That's one thing that they actually think, like implicitly, they think that things are just going to be normal after you lift the lockdown. First of all, 39.4 million jobs lost is not normal. It's not going to be normal after you lift the lockdown, because by the time you lift the lockdown, many of those businesses would have gone bankrupt. Many of them would have shut down. Even right now, many of them must have shut down right now. The reason why you don't see all these things very, very seriously, or you don't take them very seriously, is because Nigeria does not report all this information very, very seriously. They don't take it very seriously, and they are not even reporting them in real time. In the United States, they always report those things every time. So you can know just how much negative effect the lockdown is having on the economy. So when people are just talking about the economy, it may seem like an abstract thing to you, but when you realize that people are losing their jobs, people are getting sacked, people are getting salary cuts, they can't feed themselves in some areas, you sitting up there because you have your salaries or because you're in the media and your sector is considered to be essential, and because of that you are able to keep going to work, it's easy for you to keep condemning people that they want to go outside, or keep condemning them that they want to go to church, or keep condemning them that they want to go to school. Remember that schools are part of the economy. Schools are part of the economy. They are part of the tax base. They are also, there are people in all those schools that need to get paid. Do you think the proprietor or the proprietaries of a school, let's say for example now a private school, is going to keep paying the teachers during this period? It is impossible. Where is it going to get the money from? By this period, on a normal day, we should have resumed for the third term for all those secondary schools. They should have resumed. Talking about private universities, some people are talking about the fact that the university, that's the American University in Nigeria, that's owned by Atiku, that dismissed about 400 employees, that it is very wicked and all of that. I'm like, where do you think it's going to be getting the money from? You may think that it's so stinkingly rich, but when you talk about business, the business ethics is not as straightforward as you see it. You can't expect a business to act like the federal government. The federal government is like the government. It's not going to go away. Even if it goes bankrupt right now, since it's there, you can still bet against it that one way or the other, there will still be business in the country that will keep paying taxes towards it. So that's it. So the federal government can't shut down, but companies can shut down. So if you run your company into ground because you keep paying what you don't have, the company is gone. There's nothing that will be done about it. There are so many competitors with your company, so many competitors that will gladly take over your niche, that will gladly take over your market share in the market, like in that particular sphere of influence that you are. So it's a very dangerous thing. So you can't just expect them to act like the way the federal governments or the state governments might act. So that's exactly what is going on. So it's something very serious. So many people must have lost their jobs in all those secondary schools, in all those private universities. So what are you going to say to those people? You're going to tell them that you can still justify the lockdowns of schools at this point? Yes, it's going to be easy for you to say it because maybe you're not working there. But ask any sort of teacher, ask them the question. You will understand what is going on. You understand what is going on? They too have their own families, and for those in the private sector that can't get paid right now, it's not funny. This thing is not funny any longer. They are really raring to get back to work. So that's what I'm trying to say. So 39.4 million jobs, not a small issue. So we all have to keep that in mind. Again, a hungry man is an angry man. You are going to increase a lot of crimes if you continue this. There will be so much, and of course that's one of the reasons why the federal government decided to lift part of the lockdown, lift it partially to allow markets to keep operating. In many states, even states where things are still shut down, they allow, even if it's just going to be 2 days or 3 days in a week, for markets to operate, because if people are hungry, there will be a revolution. People are going to revolt against the government. So that's the reason. So it's not simply because they are so interested in preventing spread of the virus that they are not allowing churches to reopen. in some places, or that they are not allowing schools to reopen in some places, if they really don't want any sort of spread, they will lock down the market. But because they know that schools are not going to revolt, because of the lockdown over schools, because of the virus, but people are going to revolt over markets if they can't get things to eat, because not everybody is growing their own food. And that's the reason. The same thing with churches, when they kept on locking down the churches for some time, because of course some states are still locking down churches and mosques at this period. They know that those religious centers are not going to revolt. They are not going to carry tiki torches. They are not going to go around with pitchforks and complain and destroy things and damage things, because they know nothing is going to happen from that. But because they know, they really do fear social unrest if they lock down the means of eating, where people can eat. So they know that's going to turn into a serious problem. That's why they allowed markets to open. Honestly, that's the only reason. It's because of the fear of social unrest that they allow markets to open while keeping some other industries shut down. So that's exactly what is going on. That's exactly what is going on. And again, the federal government has been trying seriously now, frantically trying to support industries. The federal government, especially the CBN, and that's the Central Bank of Nigeria, is trying everything to give out loans to companies so that they can revitalize the economy, so that even in some areas, almost no interest on the loans, so that people can just get the economy back on track, because we are really in a recession right now. Whether you prefer it or not, whether you like to hear it or not, we are in a recession right now. That's what is going on. And of course, if you can remember what happened in the last recession, you should know what is going to happen right now, because this is predicted to be even worse than that. And the recession is not something that you just jump out of immediately, especially in an economy that's not even as strong as we have here. So hopefully everything gets better, but there's a lot of problem right now. Oil revenue is down. Like the tax base, those people who should be supporting the economy while the oil revenue is down, they too are being shut down in the largest sense of the word. So honestly, we are really screwed. That's what I'm just going to be saying. Anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. On YouTube, it's Naija Unsealed. On Instagram and on Facebook, also Naija Unsealed. Make sure you follow us on those two platforms as well. And I'll be seeing you guys next time.